Welcome back, everyone. So glad you're joining us for today's explainer. We are rolling up our sleeves and looking under the hood of the modern cybercriminals toolkit. It's kind of like a high-stakes game of cat and mouse, right? By understanding exactly how attackers infiltrate systems, we're in a way better position to protect ourselves and our networks. We're going to use a fictional organization today, let's call them Apollo, to really visualize this. We'll be breaking down these infiltration methods in detail so you know exactly what we are up against.
Okay, let's dive right into this escalation narrative. We've got 5 key areas to cover today: the human weakness, crashing the system, silent interceptors, breaking the keys, and finally, the long game.
All right, starting with Section 1, the human weakness, exploiting the human element.
It's actually fascinating and honestly a bit unsettling that the easiest way into a highly secure system often has absolutely nothing to do with brute forcing a firewall. The real weak link? It's us, the people. Put yourself in this scenario for a second. You're eating lunch in the canteen. A colleague works up, looking super stressed out. They tell you they can't connect to the public Wi-Fi and practically beg you for the private Wi-Fi password just so they can check if their phone is working. What do? Honestly, do you just hand it over? Hackers know our natural inclination is to just be helpful. They prey on our empathy, maybe our vanity, or even our greed, completely flipping our best human traits into major security vulnerabilities. If you just hand over that password, well, you've just been engineered.
A prime example of this kind of manipulation is called pretexting. Basically, this is when an attacker calls someone up and spins a totally convincing lie to get their hands on privileged data. Just imagine picking up the phone and it's someone claiming to be from IT. They tell you it's urgent. They need to confirm your identity with some personal or financial data to fix a network outage. They might even name drop some senior executives to intimidate you into complying. It's a completely manufactured crisis designed to make you panic and bypass standard protocol. And guess what? It works brilliantly. In fact, it's a surprising but very real statistic that human error or manipulation is the driving force behind the vast majority of successful data breaches today.
Let's move to and see how this builds in Section 2, crashing the system, overwhelming the network.
So when attackers aren't busy manipulating humans, they'll often just assault the network infrastructure directly. This brings us to denial of service, or DOS attacks. Now, a DOS attack is actually relatively simple to pull off, even for a total novice. But the results? Absolutely devastating. It completely interrupts network service, causing a massive loss of time and money. Attackers generally use one of 2 main methods here. The first is just an overwhelming quantity of traffic. The attacker blasts the system with an enormous amount of data at a rate it simply cannot handle, causing it to slow down or totally crash. The second method uses maliciously formatted packets. Think of a packet as a tiny box of data flowing across the network. If an attacker sends in properly formatted packets full of errors, the receiving application literally has no idea what to do with them, which, once again, brings everything to a crawl or a total crash.
And this brilliantly illustrates what happens when a standard DOS attack is scaled up into a distributed DOS, or DDoS attack. The key word there is distributed. Instead of just one single source, the attack is coming from multiple, highly coordinated sources. Step 1. The attacker builds a botnet of infected computers. We usually call these zombies, and they're controlled by handler systems. Step 2. These zombies constantly scan the internet looking to infect even more hosts, multiplying their ranks like wildfire. Then, Step 3. When the trap is perfectly set, the hacker instructs the handler systems to unleash the entire botnet, flooding the target web server with malicious packets until it just completely collapses.
The most terrifying part of all this is the sheer scale of these botnets. We are absolutely not talking about a dozen computers sitting in someone's basement. To put that into perspective, the infamous Mirai botnet literally took over hundreds of thousands of internet-connected devices. We're talking smart fridges, security cameras, you name it, just to launch its massive attacks. A single botnet can consist of tens or even hundreds of thousands of infected bots, all taking orders from a central command and control server. And here's the kicker. Cybercriminals actually rent these massive networks out to third parties for nefarious stuff, like distributing malware or running brute force attacks. That's exactly why organizations have to use advanced filters to constantly monitor for and block this kind of botnet traffic. Which brings us to Section 3, silent interceptors, interception and deception tactics. Okay, so we're transitioning away from those loud, brute force network crashes to some incredibly stealthy tactics, things that happen right under your nose. These are known as on-path attacks, basically where an attacker intercepts the communications happening between 2 devices. Let's contrast the 2 big ones. First up, we have the man-in-the-middle or MIT-M attack.
This is where a cybercriminal takes control of a device to quietly intercept user information before it ever reaches its intended destination. It's super commonly used against web browsers to steal financial data. On the flip side, we have man in the mobile, or MITMO. As you probably guessed, this one targets your mobile device. Malware packages like Zeus use MITMO to quietly capture your two-step verification SMS messages. It completely bypasses those extra security layers to steal your sensitive info and send it directly back to the attacker. Sneaky, right?
Another highly deceptive tactic is SEO poisoning. Think about it. We all trust search engines to just hand us the right answers, right? Well, attackers weaponize that exact trust. They hijacked popular search terms and artificially optimized their own malicious sites so they show up way higher in the search engine ranks. Their ultimate goal is to intercept the traffic of unsuspecting users. So you type in a legitimate search, and they redirect you to a dangerous destination disguised as a real one, usually to hit you with malware or try some further social engineering.
Moving right along to Section 4, Breaking the Keys, the password cracking playbook. Look, entering a username and password is still the absolute most common form of web authentication out there, which makes it an attacker's absolute favorite target. Let's quickly run through their playbook. First, we've got password spraying. This is where they try a few really common passwords across a huge number of accounts, basically to avoid triggering a system lockout. Then there are dictionary attacks, which systematically try every single word in the dictionary. Brute force attacks are probably the most common. They literally just try all possible combinations of letters, numbers, and symbols until they get lucky. Rainbow attacks are definitely a bit more sophisticated. They compare the mathematical hash of your password against this massive pre-computed dictionary of hashes known as a rainbow table, totally bypassing the need to calculate guesses on the fly. And lastly, traffic interception is just the attacker sitting there reading unencrypted plain text passwords right off the network. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how these different passwords rank against a standard brute force attack script. Check out rank 1, correct password. It's cracked almost instantly. Just adding a number in rank 2 barely even slows the script down. Rank 3 adds some random casing and numbers, which definitely buys you a bit more time. But look at rank 4, correct $#7ID at 3. By mixing upper and lowercase letters, numbers, and specific symbols, it becomes by far the slowest and hardest to crack. I mean, this just proves the absolute necessity of using highly complex characters to protect networks, like our fictional at Apollo from earlier. And finally, we reach Section 5, the long game, advanced persistent threats. So we are officially moving away from those quick, automated scripts and entering the absolute highest threat level in the entire cyber landscape. We are talking about advanced persistent threats, or APTs. Guys, this is not a smash and grab operation. An APT is a highly complex, multi-phase, long-term, and incredibly stealthy operation deployed against a very specific target. The entire purpose here is to plant customized malware and remain completely undetected inside a system for months, sometimes even years. Because of the sheer skill level, persistence, and frankly massive funding required to pull this off, APTs are not run by solo hackers in their bedrooms. These are typically executed by highly resourced groups, and they're usually targeting large organizations or even entire nations for serious business espionage or political reasons. So, after all that, are you ready to earn your defender points? Let's apply what we've just learned to your own daily digital safety. Think about it. If a stranger asks you to hold the secure office door because they forgot their pass, you just survived a social engineering attempt. Awesome. If your network connection is suddenly interrupted and crashes entirely, you might be weathering a DOS attack. And if your top Google result unexpectedly redirects you to a page pushing random software, yep, that's SEO poisoning. Hackers have a seriously vast toolkit of infiltration methods, but by understanding these tactics, you are now empowered to keep your own network safe. But I'll leave you with this to chew on. As AI and automation make these infiltration methods faster and far more deceptive than ever before, will human vigilance really be enough to stop the cybercriminals of tomorrow?